Michael Jackson's Thriller album.
Stories in the Room.
This is Michael Jackson's Thriller album, Stories in the Room. Join film composer Anthony Marinelli, who programmed synthesizers for 7 songs on Thriller, and A&R veteran film producer Stephen Ray, who assisted Quincy Jones and was in the studio every day with Quincy and Michael.
Michael Jackson's Thriller album, Stories in the Room.
I'm Anthony Marinelli with my longtime close friend and co-host, Stephen Ray, bringing you the real stories directly from the talented people in the room with us during the making of Thriller, the greatest selling album of all time. You know, and then they had the technical skills with Bruce and Matt there that could just basically execute the idea, quickly and spontaneously. It's just all taken for granted. But I mean, when I look back on it, it was a heap. It was like an airplane, like just a lot of moving parts to get off the ground. And, and then the demands of the artist,
right?
You add all that together.
Right. And you brought up a very valid point earlier when you referenced, Pro Tools and Logic that we have now. Now, if I need you to do a session and I want to come over, I just bring my hard drive, which is, let's see, here we go. Let's see, I got one. Wait a minute. Give me 1 second, guys. Where is it? Here it is. Okay. So this is a 2 terabyte hard drive.
2 terabytes.
Which could 2 terabyte, which could probably hold, which is, what is that? 2,000 gigabytes. Okay. So that would hold, I don't know, 1,000 songs, 2,000 songs, 3,000 songs. Okay. If I had to do an overdub, I would have to back a truck up to bring the tapes in. The 24 track, the 2-inch Ampex or 3M tapes, right. So there was no, even like you said, so keeping track of the tapes and keeping track of who did what on what, who's on first. Just that, was a job in itself, and is genius when you think about it, because, like you said, each tape only had a maximum of 22 parts, and it was a big reel, 2 inches by almost a foot. And it was heavy, and there were boxes upon boxes upon boxes upon boxes of tape on that project.
And now when you're done, you go save, and you get total recall of all your faders and effects. But Bruce had to take Polaroids of all the settings and put tape across everything. Do not touch, because if anyone touched it, it's gone. And so another high level of importance that was all manual back then,
right?
Matt Forger was doing all of that.
Polaroid, like photos.
And you see Matt taking Polaroids with everything, everything.
Right. And there was no automation, so sometimes they would mix in sections. So they'd get a good mix on the chorus.
Oh yeah.
And the bridge had a different balance. So they'd record that, then they'd record and then they'd actually cut the tape together, the mix. So that way they didn't have to try and move faders in the middle of a mix.
Right. Because it was too complicated. The song.
Bruce was a master. He was a master cutter. Bruce was just a master at that.
Yeah.
Unbelievable. But, compared to now, and just think about, like you were saying, your hard drive, that's travel friendly, isn't it?
Oh man. I'll tell you something. My first hard drive, after Thriller, we got a hard drive because the sampling came out. And the first hard drive I bought cost $20,000, and it was 5 megabytes. And we got about a couple minutes, 2 minutes of monophonic sampling. And that was the state of the art. And we used that to it was the first auto tune. We could take the lead vocal, sample it, but fix it, but with a pitch wheel. That's how we had to do it.
Right.
Just kind of pitch it and perform it, and then but time it back in. We play the key, and you couldn't slide it when you'd have to keep doing that until it was right.
Right. So you got it right. Yeah.
And that's the kind of stuff people were doing, that were thinking ahead. But it takes a lot of time and effort and money and risk too. You could do all that and then it doesn't sound good, but they just knew how to do it all. and make it sound good. And then we've said this so many times, making records for multiple generations, for the kids, the moms, dads, and now the grandparents. It's just like everybody still loves this record and it's still relevant. Like you could put it on the dance floor.
Absolutely.
And people will come to the dance floor and not leaving the dance floor when the Thriller songs come on.
Right.
Yeah.
What do you got?
Well,
And like Lady in My Life, what you did on Lady in My Life is just so, speaking of demographics in the household, that, clearly for the parents of the kids, I mean, his performance on Lady in My Life, what you did, the texturing and layering that you did on that, is just what you said with the 335 is just beautiful. It's just so beautiful.
Thank you. That session was just myself and Rod Temperton, being the writer of the song.
Wow.
And he had the lick. Let's see if I can remember it. Let's see. So the lick was, let's see. So he had that lick. And so all the other little things like the, let's see, all that stuff I actually came up with. But he had the octave lick, which was another hook.
Yeah, he was doing all that groove stuff,
Yeah.
But
that was on a 335.
When it kicked in.
I want to hear more about that. So just the two of you started, like he just had the tune in his head. Did he have the lyrics and the melody, or what happened?
Oh, no. I actually went in for an overdub session. The song was actually just about done.
Oh, I see.
And he said, there's a line that I've been hearing that I want you to play. And that was the octave line. And then I added a couple of things. And then I added a rhythm part and some other little things, some volume pedal swells and some other stuff. But that basic lick, the key hook guitar lick, was what came from Rod.
Yeah, that he was such a major contributor. I mean, we have to say invaluable, like writing the songs, and then came up with so many just perfect lines, like arrangement, melodies, like they're background melodies. But like you mentioned earlier, Paul, like, hooks, they're like the most important part of the song probably is the melody and the lyrics. They're sort of tied together. But the beat, but like a lot of great songs usually have some sort of melodic hook, something that's instrumental that matters, right? And this is the kind of stuff we're talking about.
Give an example.
I mean, well, Michael and Quincy both were into counter melodies.
Right.
That's what it is.
Well, give an example. The great song Love's Theme by Barry White and the Love Unlimited Orchestra. You think of the great strings by Gene Page, but the other thing was that nonstop guitar lick, which was actually two notes. Just two notes throughout the entire song. But if you ask people, how's the song go? Most people will go, the song that dun 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 dun. The famous
Great.
David T. Walker guitar lick.
Great example. Right. And if you took the song out, then there's not as much to remember, but also having that pedal throughout the whole thing, the melody, it gives the melody like nuance because it's tension and release against something it's not that it's static, because in reality, it's creating change against the melody. And that's what the beauty of not overplaying is, knowing that.
Yeah, absolutely.
Join us for the next episode of Michael Jackson's Thriller album, Stories in the Room, with your hosts, Anthony Marinelli and Stephen Ray. Watch our extended interviews on youtube.com/@StoriesInTheRoom. Audio-only interviews are available on all podcast networks. Follow us on Facebook, Instagram, and TikTok @StoriesInTheRoom. For the latest news and links, visit the website, storiesintheroom.com. This podcast is produced by Christian D. Bruun and David Wolf, recorded by Audivita Studios. Additional recording by Ben Rackless. Edited by Jay Spang and Sean Hedinger. Music by Anthony Marinelli and Stephen Ray.
Michael Jackson's Thriller album.